So, hello, peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum is the way Muslims say hello, which basically means peace be upon you. And it's a heartfelt greeting, basically saying, you know what, I really care about you. You're my brother and sister. I have no bad will towards you. And it's actually an ancient saying. Even Jesus used to say it, except for he used to say in Hebrew, saying, Ashalom aleichem. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing. Hebrew and Arabic are very similar in many ways. Okay, so welcome to the happiness question and answer session. I'm going to kind of redo this intro in a little bit. So we start exactly on time. So people who come exactly at 7 o'clock don't miss out. I am just going to do a brief intro, which is saying kind of the obvious kind of stuff, like this is the question answer session. That means I'm really interested in listening to your questions. I actually find it much harder just talking without kind of responding to people, because I can get a feel of what people are looking for when they ask questions and how they ask questions. Having said that, I've got loads of brilliant questions that I want to talk about today. Right, so so let's do a 30-second introduction, adding a bit more to what I just said, which is this is a question answer session. I'm desperate for your questions. I really like interaction. If you missed this question answer, I would love it if you just comment on the bottom of the question of this video after the live session. That way I can respond to that. I don't mind responding outside the question answer or this live stream. So who am I? I'm a Muslim, but I'm not just any old Muslim. I am a member of the revolutionary group who intends to change the world through love. I am part of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I'm a follower of the spiritual guide of the age. So what's that all about? Very briefly, prophets throughout time said that they would return. So Jesus said he would return in the latter days, and Christians expected him to come around this time. In fact, about 100 years ago, many Christians were claiming that he would be coming. And so about the same time, very interestingly, so did the followers of Buddha, so did the followers of Hinduism, and maybe some others. They all thought their second coming is all going to come at the same time. And that's no surprise, because Islam actually connects all religions and actually brings them out of mythology, because so many strange ideas being attributed to these religions that people like Jesus never actually said. For example, Jesus never claimed to be God. He said he was son of God, but so did the Jews said they're all children of God, but nobody thought they were actually literally children of God. So it's a very brief intro. I don't want to do too much of intro. I want to give you a 5-minute tip on how to change your life. And the one that I'm really interested in, just to remind myself, I'm scrolling up to, so paradise is the home of the generous. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, God be upon him, said, paradise is the home of the generous. The reason why I love this tiny little quote, partly because it can change your life, but also because it's the exact opposite of what most people would try to do to be happy. You might not even understand what I just said. Paradise is the home of the generous. What does that mean? It means basically, if you want this world to be a paradise for you, then be generous. Okay, so most people think, you know what, if only I could have this or I could have that thing, then I would be happy. Okay, but if you think about your actual experience, there are so many things when you were younger that you wanted, and if you think about it, you actually have those things now, and you're not any happier. Yeah, that's a general people's experience. So of course, if you wanted something really deep and meaningful and selfless, maybe you would be happier. But most people try to just gain things one after the other, and their experience is like the Quran says, somebody who is chasing a mirage. You think happiness is there, you chase it like a mirage. They say, well, when you reach a mirage, what happens? the mirage disappears. In the same way, people have that experience. They think, if only I could have that thing, the iPhone, for example, and they get the iPhone and they get it and it lasts like for a few seconds and they go, after they've shown it off to a few people, even that would not make you happy. Then they think, if only I had the next version of the iPhone. So not only is it that I'm saying that is the experience, is scientifically proven that it is true that if you are generous, you become happier. What do I mean by scientifically proven? Well, there's a great TED talk. I'm a big fan of TED talks. I think I'm going to make a habit of copy pasting things into the chat. By the way, I'm going to look out for the chats every now and then. If there's a question, I'll interrupt what I'm saying and try to answer your question, or try to at least finish my sentence though. So I'm going to copy paste a couple of things. I'm trying to get into the habit of copy pasting into the live stream chat. So here's my first attempt at doing that. So there's a great TED talk called How to Buy Happiness. And I was a bit suspicious when I first watched this video, but when I clicked on the video, it was really interesting. So they did a lot of tests on people, psychological tests, and they found that people who simply, they did basically a comparison between if you buy something for yourself, say a cup of coffee, and you buy the cup, or you give a cup of coffee to somebody else, the effect of giving a cup of coffee to somebody else has a much longer lasting effect on your happiness. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Some sort of scientific, when I say scientific, based on evidence, based on facts, based on experiment. That's what I mean by scientific. Yeah, psychological is another way of saying it. So there's evidence to show that makes you happy. It's not just some airy-fairy, nice thing to say, politically correct or something like that. It practically has an effect on your life. And so why is that? Let's quickly analyze it, because sometimes we're rushing in life all the time and we don't really think about deeply what actually makes us happy. And very briefly, scientists have said that it's connection. I'm not just making this up. You can just search this up. What is one of the absolute basic needs of human beings after eating, and breathing or something, is actually connection. We are a very subtle being, which is we look for subtle things like connection and love and things like that. It's really weird. It's not just food that we need. We're not we don't need to just survive because we don't feel alive like that. Many people kill themselves even though they have lots of things, but when they don't have connection, they don't think life is worthwhile. So that tells you something about what human beings are really like. But our problem is that we don't think deeply about what actually makes us happy. And then we just kind of grab the most obvious thing. We grab things that we can see, which is very simplistic. And then if you live on that kind of simplistic level, you're never going to be happy because you're not really working towards your real needs. You're not reflecting on what you really need as a high level being. Okay, so I did say 5-minute intro or something, a 5-minute tip. I wonder if I made any notes about, yeah, okay, cool. So let's get on with some questions. Now, I've got a whole bunch of really interesting questions, and I'm going to kind of whiz through them, take a question that I've already put to, collected of friends and whoever, people I've met. And I'll give a quick answer, but the point of giving the quick answer is to give you an opportunity to disagree with me. I really like it when people disagree with me, because then often what happens is, what's the benefit of people disagreeing with me is that I go, oh yeah, I forgot to explain that thing, and then sometimes the disagreement disappears anyway. It's just because I'm giving a brief answer. There's always something that I might miss, some sort of detail that I might miss. So anyway, we've got Adil, who asked me recently. He says, regarding COVID, he says, statistics are definitely being fiddled with. Why is the government so intent on exaggerating the effect of COVID? Okay, so I love this question. As with all my other questions, they're all questions that people genuinely feel is a problem for them, and it definitely affects the world. You know, there's so much tension and negative effect on the way the country operates because people are not listening to the government or whatever, and there's just a lot of tension, making a lot of people unhappy. So this is a really important question. So thank you, Adil, for the question. Okay, and the answer from Islam. So I'm always trying to quote something from the teachings of Islam because it's not from me. If it was from me, it would be a rubbish answer. Trust me. Yeah. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This is the first thing I like to say because it gives a feel of what the answer is. It says to be organized as a community is a blessing, and to be disorganized is an affliction. Okay, what has that got to do with, you know, statistics being fiddled and all this kind of stuff, right? Okay, so yeah, so let me quickly quote one more thing from the Quran, which explains it even better. So I like the idea of, you know, realizing that we need to be organized. If you're not organized, society just completely breaks down. Okay, but an even deeper explanation from the Quran, which I prefer to talk about than just the saying of the Prophet. The saying of the Prophet explains the verse of the Quran, but I think sometimes the saying of the Prophet, which is what his intention was, Prophet Muhammad's intention, peace be upon him, was to make it easier to digest some ideas from the Quran if you're not willing to spend a lot of time reflecting on what the Quran is saying. So that's why I put it in that order in this case. So in the Quran it says, O you who have faith, obey Allah, that is God, and obey the messenger and those invested with authority among you. Basically people who have been given authority above you, like the prime minister or the president of the country or whatever. If you disagree over something, refer it to Allah and his messenger if you truly believe in Allah and the last day. That is better and most suitable for determination. So basically what this is getting at is, you know, if there's a teacher, if your government is saying outright something that is against the faith, you know, don't have to listen to it. Okay, but in the West where we are, we don't have that experience. In fact, they're very accommodating. So it's really important to value and value things. Be grateful for what you're being given. So as a Muslim, I find so many places, as a teacher as well, I find so many places where they even have prayer rooms. They don't have to have prayer rooms. They're not a Muslim country, and they have that in so many places, in Heathrow Airport and all sorts of places. Yeah. So they are very accommodating. Okay, so that's one thing. And then it says, if you disagree with something, don't always fight the government, because that's going to be really detrimental to the organization that we have, right? So let me put it very quickly. If there was no organization in this country, you would die of hunger very quickly. You have to try to appreciate the necessity for organization. And in Islam, a huge amount of emphasis is put on listening to your leader. Okay, now that you might really hate that answer, because you want a quick solution, but there are no quick solutions. The world doesn't work like that. As I said, I'm trying to give quick answers. I think last time I tried to give longer answers, then I lost track of what I was going to do, what I was saying. Yeah, and so looking at my notes that I've made, okay, I think I've mixed up two questions, maybe. No, I haven't. So yeah, so one thing I really want to say is, maybe you're not aware of the amount of destruction you get from working against your government. So if you look at Syria, most people think it's some sort of civil war or something like that. To some extent, yes, they are. Yes, it's true. Okay, but be aware that what happened in Syria was there were a few people, you know, like my dad or something, not like my dad, like people my dad's age or something, who went in the streets and said like, oh, we don't agree with the government. Yeah, but there was no way they could fight against a fully fledged army. Okay, what happened was there were loads of people from outside and said, yeah, we'll happily, you know, destroy your country for you, sort of thing. Yeah, so rebellion causes a lot more destruction than you might realize. Yeah, and finally, I like to say this saying of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is, your leaders come from among you and you deserve them. So we deserve our leaders, okay, because a lot of people, especially young people, are not voting enough. And you might say, like, for example, in London, yes, we all voted, you know, for somebody else, but we got somebody else because there's a lot of racism outside London, all that kind of stuff. And they voted for maybe somebody who kind of encourage, I don't know. I don't want to say encourages racism, but, you know, he worked on differences between people. So it's our fault for not reaching out to more people and creating more unity. If we had real unity, then we'll be able to get together and vote for better politicians. So that's my answer for that. Please disagree with me, then I can, you know, respond. Sounds really weird saying please disagree, but it just really helps. I know there's all sorts of tiny things that maybe I could explain better. So your disagreement, whatever, will always help me. Let me have a look in the comments. Nope, no response yet. Oh yeah, I can see 2 likes. That's very kind of you. If you do agree with me, then what you can do is like and subscribe. I'm not saying it like a YouTuber does, where like maybe, you know, just to make their own YouTube video popular for the sake of it, or, you know, making money out of it. I don't put adverts on my videos. I don't make money out of this. So the idea is, if you're not aware, if you like and subscribe and all this kind of stuff, what happens is the video becomes more popular, and then more people watch it. So if you really like this content and you think other people should watch it, then one way is just simply pressing the like button. So that's it sounds like a really small thing to do, but that's what Islam is all about. Like, slowly but surely, do whatever you can do. So cool. All right, cool. I just seen a question pop up. AN Trump has COVID. How do you feel about this? Okay, so that's a really interesting question, because yesterday when I first saw the report about it, the reporter was overly joyous about it, like laughing about it. Because why? Because initially, as far as I understand, Trump thought it wasn't a real disease, and then he changed his mind. He said, yes, it's a real disease, but he's not been taking it all that seriously. People say, well, he says he is taking it seriously, but he hasn't had strict lockdowns. He has, you know, America has got the worst rate of COVID infections and stuff like that. So how do I feel about it? Everybody is my brother and sister. Really, that's how it is. So as a Muslim, everybody is your brother and sister. We're part of one human family. So it's he's basically like my uncle, even though I disagree with him, that kind of thing, right? So, you know, in some ways I can say, you know, feel sorry for him. I wish really, and there's no benefit in like saying he deserves it, which is a lot of what a lot of people are saying, you know. Maybe it's what he deserves. He's destroying his own country. He's just getting his just desserts. But there's no benefit in that, you know, being rude to people. It just causes more discord. And my only intention, okay, and I wish it was everybody's intention, because then the world will be better. And that's what we really want, okay, rather than short-term bits of entertainment, let's say. It's better if we work towards a better world. So we say, like, what can we do so that the world gets better? I hope, this is one thing I hope, that maybe he'll take coronavirus or COVID more seriously. You know, everything happens for a reason. Maybe God is giving him an opportunity to rethink what he's doing, take this more seriously, possibly. So that's an opportunity. So some people might think also there's another argument, I'll just make it really short, that it's fake. So lots of people thought Boris Johnson, when he got COVID, it was fake because he just didn't want to answer questions. You know, he was having a problem with Parliament answering questions. So he thought, some people think, you know, he ran away and just thought he'd have COVID to have a break. But again, that's a question of being really suspicious. And in Islam, I suppose I'll quickly quote this because I'm trying not to just say things, but actually quote things. It comes to another question about suspicion. Let me do a Control F on this little file. Suspicion. Yeah. Oh, you who believe, avoid much suspicion, for suspicion in some cases is a sin. Okay, this is actually going to be used, a quote that I got quickly in response to another question, also about COVID. So that's my answer for now. I really appreciate your question. It's a really nice question. I'm trying to work out something. So AN must be your username. So thanks, AN. Okay, right. So back to the next question. That is Adil again. He says, who gets money when a new COVID infection comes to light, and how, get rid of that, and how are these conclusions reached? So I'm trying to understand entirely the question. So, but I get the sense, okay, there's a general sense that COVID is a manufactured disease for some sort of motive, like either destroy economies or just make money. So I don't want to mention names. There's a lot of certain names going around in the internet, people who are creating possibly what you call the antivirals. What's the word? I can't remember the word. I forget words. Yeah. So people drug companies who could possibly make a lot of money if people are forced to take the antivirals. What's the word? I don't know. Somebody could help me with that. Okay. So immunization injections, whatever. So I think that's what the idea behind this question is. Like, is there an ulterior motive? Are people trying to, is this COVID a fake disease, or if it is a real disease, is it being created to make money for big companies who basically don't like poor people or the average person on the street? Okay, and so again, I'm going to start with, O ye who, with a verse of the Quran, the same verse I just mentioned, O ye who believe, avoid much suspicion, for suspicion in some cases is sin. Now, this verse actually comes after another verse where talking about the general idea is avoiding discord and problems in society, because Islam is not just a religion which tells you how to, get into heaven and avoid hell. It's not that simplistic. There are so many basic things it teaches you about cleanliness, how to be healthy, how to make society work. And one of the key things in Islam is unity. That's why, for example, all Muslims pray in one direction, which is towards the Kaaba. God doesn't exist in one place. It's just a way of creating unity. It does so many things to create unity, because with unity, even though unity is a really difficult thing, because you're in a community, people can have completely different ideas, but with unity overall, you are going to be a lot more successful. That's what makes humans so powerful, is our ability to work together. Even language, okay, is an amazing thing that enables us to be united and work together. Okay, so and I love to quickly read the commentary on this particular verse of the Quran. So one thing I want to do is I said I was going to make a habit of putting things in here. So there's a great website. Let me just get to it to make it a bit easier. A great website called alislam.org. Org. Al-Islam means the Islam. It's the way, it's a bit of a Arabic-y kind of title. It's not the easiest title to remember, but AL, you probably hear it a lot, Al this, Al that, probably not in a good context on the news, but anyway. So alislam.org, on that website there's a Quran, a digital form, and you can search it. And I'm going to quote things, and you can search a few words and you easily find those quotes, and also explanations of those quotes. So I'm just quickly copy pasting a link so you can search that up in your own time. So there will be additional benefit to this video. You can learn more after the video. But let's get back to my little notes of what I've found already. So of this verse, O ye who believe, avoid much suspicion, for suspicion in some cases is a sin. The context of this video explanation, the context of this verse of the Quran is, or the explanation of it is, as stated above, this I'm just reading out, as stated above, the principal theme of the chapter, the surah is called, that's a chapter in the Quran, is the establishment of concord, amity, or not enmity, but amity, whatever, basically friendliness, goodwill between Muslim individuals, basically, and groups. That means everybody, basically. And therefore, it has mentioned some of those social evils which cause discord, dissension, and differences, and corrode and corrupt and contaminate the society, eating into its vitals, and enjoins Muslims to be on their guard against them. So as I was saying before, without unity, without organization, society completely breaks down, and you will have, the world will be a really terrible place. I give a simple example, like you will die out of hunger very quickly, okay, if there was no prime minister. So if you don't like the prime minister, let's work on, working together, find a better person, and the way, the prime ministers and the whoever is in charge of you is really a reflection on you. Okay, why is that? If you look at first of all, we vote for that person, right? So somebody voted for him, and loads of people voted for him. And if people are voting for a person based on racism, that means that's a reflection on us. And it's also a reflection on the people who didn't vote for him, because they weren't able, they were careless about the fact that they need to build a society where everybody likes each other, appreciates each other as brother and sister. Okay, so everybody is to blame. Like in this video, what I'm doing in this question answer, I don't get paid for it, okay, is I'm trying to make the world a better place, and everybody has that duty. If people think they don't have that duty and they don't care about the world, then you can't really complain if the world gets worse. So that's really my answer. So maybe I didn't explain it. I'm just going to explain it in a few more seconds. Who makes money? Who knows? You don't know. You don't know the evidence. There is evidence that's not clear. There's so many things you won't know. Don't be overly suspicious. It's not good for you. And when it says some cases is a sin, sin is just a thing that is bad for you. It's a poison. In religious terms, sin is a poison. Basically, it makes you feel negative. So don't go down the negativity route. If you know something for sure, yes, you can do something, but people are dealing with a lot of suspicion rather than fact at the moment. That's what I can say at the moment. I have to try to balance it out very briefly. Sometimes I do wonder, some people predicting that there's going to be a pandemic over and over again. It's a bit of a weird thing to predict, but maybe those people do look at, maybe there's I'm purposely not trying to mention certain names. I think it's a bit as I said, everybody's my brother and sister, including people I've never met, right? Okay, so if those people are some sort of experts in a certain domain, maybe they were able to predict this pandemic. Okay, you know who I'm talking about if you're already involved in this topic. Anyway, another question. Okay, let me check if there's a comment, and then I'm going to look back again. So I should I think I can, let's split the screen. Maybe that'll be better. Let's split the screen so I don't have, I can look for a comment as soon as it pops up. Here we go. So it doesn't really work so well. Maybe I'll zoom out from this little file. I'm actually trying, before I wasn't reading from a, what's it called, file for my comments. So I was just kind of going off the top of my head. But what happened last time was normally I'm pretty good at talking to people directly. I can respond directly, but I was kind of losing track. So every time I'm trying to make these videos, I know it goes really badly in so many ways. And each time I just try to improve, right? And that's just the nature of trying to make the world a better place. If you want to make the world a better place, it's not going to be an easy ride. People are not going to appreciate anything you do, you know, and you're going to mess up, and you know you're going to mess up, and you know you're doing it badly, and you'll never feel like you're the right person. I don't feel like I'm the right person. I wish it was somebody else making this video, but you know, I have asked people and they're not exactly coming forward. I'm not really complaining. Maybe it's a great opportunity for me to do something in a situation when maybe a lot of people are not doing something. So anyway, and I quite enjoy this. I think it makes a difference. So anyway, so what was it? Some Amir Stefan El Mehrat from Denmark. So I know this guy. I kind of know this guy just through WhatsApp. He messaged me directly. And he says, the purpose of life is not pursuit of happiness. It is the pursuit of truth. And he said Al-Haq, which is the name, one of the qualities of God, the truth. Okay, so, right. Well, first of all, I didn't say the purpose of life is happiness. I know this show is called, you know, Happiness Q&A. That's just to make things easy for people to understand, because people are really confused about spirituality in my estimation, right? So happiness is basically a sign that you're going in the right direction. But I don't even like the word happiness. It's just that happiness is a simplistic word that I put on the title. But one of the reasons why I have these question and answers, so I can explain things in more detail. So thank you for this question. It's going to give me a chance to explain a few things. And that is, a word better than happiness is peace, inner peace. And that is actually the word, that is actually one of the meanings of Islam. Islam means two very interesting things. It means peace, and it also means submission to the will of God. So Arabic is a really amazing language. Somebody has described it as a mathematical language, because it's not like you just make up any meanings to an Arabic word. They have something called a root system, and you can mathematically kind of, or very logically, break down its meanings. Okay, so Islam means peace, and at the same time it means submission to the will of God, or submit your ego and allow God to take over, as it were. So in fact, it's kind of a recipe for finding peace. Yeah. So if you want inner peace, then let go of your ego, because your ego makes you do really stupid things. Yeah. So it's like, you know, you make a mistake and you get greedy and you say, I wish I had this thing, and you chase it, and then you realize it doesn't make you happy, and then you still do that thing again. That's your ego making you do stupid things. Okay. So if you want to find inner peace, let go of your ego, God will take over and you'll find it. So that's a nice little kind of thing to explain there. So yes, happiness is a temporary feeling. I'm just looking at my little note. Okay, the truth. So Amir, you can tell me if I'm pronouncing it properly. Says it's not happiness; it's a pursuit of truth. Well, truth is not really a destination, is it? It's more like a path. It leads you in the right direction. Yeah. So I've said this before. Maybe I haven't in enough detail. Maybe, I don't know. If you follow your conscience, then you will be led the right way. If you follow truth, you will be led the right way. That is the guide to finding God. Okay, because your conscience is a really interesting thing that we all have, and it guides us all the same direction, which is something I'm going to talk about later on, about the purpose of life. It's a very interesting tool that God has implanted in you. So what do I mean by your conscience guide you in a certain direction? If you do something bad, okay, even if other people don't know it, somehow you feel really bad about it, and it's like your God is your soul is telling you off. Okay, but if you do something good, you feel good, right? And then you're propelled in a certain direction. So God wants you to succeed, and so he's giving you this thing called a conscience. And if you listen to it, if you're honest to yourself, follow the truth, then you will go in the right direction. So for example, if, for example, you see these videos and you say, wow, Islam seems to have the answers, but I'm not going to follow it because I wasn't born into that religion, or Islam's such a foreign religion that I'm not going to listen to it, then that's not following the truth. Sometimes following the truth is a bit difficult. Okay. Having said that, one of the things I'm trying to do in these videos is trying to make things easier for people. So, okay, sure, maybe even if you think Islam is the way to, is the truth, but you're a bit scared, because a lot of people are scared to do things a bit differently, but they shouldn't be in, like, London, at least. Nobody really cares what you do most of the time. You're kind of very open-minded, I find. But even if you find that a bit of a big step, the point of these videos is to give you baby steps to make your life better. Take a bit of Islam, even if you don't become a Muslim, try it out. I want you to feel happier and better because of this video. I'll be happy with that. And maybe those baby steps will lead you to take the bigger steps in the future or something. Maybe the baby steps will add up to a big step by itself without too much effort. Anyway, so that's that. Well, my last comment on that would be being at one. So the truth is not a destination, it's a path, but being at one with God, the exalted, the high, the exalted means like the beautiful, the perfect, world beyond us. Yeah, that is a destination, although it's a never-ending journey to get to that destination. And that is the purpose of life. Okay, that's a destination. A purpose must be a destination. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? You can disagree with me if you like. Anyway, so I got another question that I missed out from the time before. I did say I was going to go through the comments of a previous session. People commented in the live chat, and so I got Khulud, which actually I know my son asked this question on his mum's account. He said, Abu Bakr, may Allah be his helper. So Abu Bakr is the Khalifa, or the first spiritual leader after Prophet Muhammad. He took over. Okay, that's what always actually happens after prophets pass away. What usually happens is they have somebody who continues their mission, because it's not just the end of the story after a prophet dies. So Abu Bakr, may Allah be his helper, used to split the money from wars to people who helped in the wars and joined after equally. So is that communism or not? Because he gave everyone an equal amount. So thank you for the question. That's a very interesting question, an opportunity to explain something fascinating about the Islamic economic system. Okay, so very quickly, there was a quote that I was looking for just a minute ago, because I was frantically trying to prepare and get quotes and things like this. But basically, in the teachings of Islam, it says that if you're really rich, in your wealth, there's a right for other people, because everybody is a child of God, and God gives out wealth, and according to God, who is the bestower of wealth in the first place. So everybody is a right. So if you just gain all the money and abuse it, and don't give decent salaries and things to poor people, you're doing something wrong, because the real boss is God. So that's kind of the foundation of it. So yes, it's not communism, it's that everybody has a right to some basic wealth to live and all this kind of stuff, right? And the problem with communism is it's not natural. It cannot even be, there have been many attempts to make it happen, but it's not natural in the sense that if people are not given, if the average person is not given money or more money to do more work, they're often not very motivated. So that you might think, yes, they're kind of intrinsically motivated, but that's not always true. That's what happened in the experience of communism in Russia and China. A lot of people are starving, didn't really work. And also, there's a really basic flaw in communism, which is that it doesn't give out the money to all the right places. Basically, money is like blood in the human system. And if you think about the human system, it has a very kind of intricate way of getting blood to everywhere. So that's capitalism. Okay, capitalism gets money to everywhere, but capitalism is not perfect. So Islam doesn't believe in capitalism. I like to say Islam believes in moralism. I'm just making up that word, but it kind of explains what Islam really believes in. And what Islam really believes in, I'm just going to get my phone out. Sometimes I get really useful comments or something, and I kind of respond to them as well. No comments. Okay. All right. Okay. Bye. Okay. So, so what Islam believes in is your moral duty to give away your wealth. Okay, to different places, to different people, but not only give away your wealth. That's kind of a misunderstanding. To reinvest your wealth. Okay, why does it give that? So just to give you return back to the idea of money being like blood in your system. If blood is held up in one place, it does not help the body. Even though you've got the same amount of blood, having blood all in your arm, it will kill you because you need it everywhere. It basically, blood provides energy to every bit of your body. So in the same way, money needs to keep going around. And if you keep it in one place, that will destroy the economy. It's really bad for the economy. Now, why did I say Islam has an amazing way of amazing monetary system, is because of an example I'm just going to demonstrate to you. So there's two basic things that Islam teaches you, and that is, do not have interest. Interest means if I give you money, the bank will give me more money. It's not like an investment. It's different, and the Quran is very clear that that is not an investment, okay? Because you will definitely get your money back. An investment means there's a risk that you lose your money. It's not business investment, as it were, okay? So interest is really bad, and the flip side of interest is something called zakat, which basically is kind of charity, okay? And basically, it's charged on any money that's being kept idle, okay? So in both ways, it keeps money moving. It's called money velocity. Money velocity is really helpful to an economy. You can search that up, money velocity. And here's another opportunity to copy paste a word that you might not understand when I say it. Okay, there's a little town called Wurgle, which experimented with these two economic ideas. They made their own money for a little bit. This is straight after the Wall Street crash, which destroyed economies around the world. It was the first kind of global financial disaster, right? So there were, even in Europe, in Austria, where Wurgle was or is, economies were collapsing and in really bad state. But if you read an article or what is known as the Miracle of Wurgle, WORGL, if you don't see the comment here, you'll see that somebody or a little town experimented with this idea of taxing money that is not being used and not having any interest. Okay, so there's no benefit of keeping the money. And very quickly, that little town made so much money, and they got out of recession really quickly. It just basically invigorated the town, got everybody to work. Okay, so there's great benefit of that. Yeah, check it out. And so that's all I've got to say about that. The next question, so from a friend of mine called Daniel, I just met him yesterday. So he's become a Muslim already, and his question is, what is the benefit of fasting? So the reason why I said he's become a Muslim already is that he gets the benefit of fasting. But one day a friend of his asked him, why do you fast? And even though Daniel gave all the answers that made sense to him, his friend, didn't quite understand, and he wished that he could give even better answer. I did say to Daniel yesterday that maybe his friend was not in a spiritual state or awareness that he was ready to listen or understand or appreciate the subtleties of spirituality at that time. But that doesn't mean you don't try. The main thing is, if you understand it, that's really important. But here are a couple of ideas. So I'm going to start off with the really basic ones, because I can't assume that everybody, is a Muslim and understands. So there are one of the teachings of Islam is that, so one of the teachings of Islam, Prophet Muhammad said that do not eat too much. He said, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that eat 1/3 of your belly. So you're not literally counting, but you can feel it. Like have 1/3 of food, 1/3 of water, and leave 1/3 for air, which he described as light. It leaves some light in your head. So basically, if you know a little bit about psychology or how the brain works, if you eat too much, it dulls your brain down. It reduces your awareness. Okay, so it's, in a way, it destroys the subtlety that is required for spirituality. Another side I like to describe, which is kind of further going along this, is something that I was reminded of recently by the current Khalifa. So I'd like to quickly sidetrack and explain what is a Khalifa. I kind of mentioned it a few seconds ago. A Khalifa is a spiritual leader for Muslims, but not just any old spiritual leader. So we have a Khalifa, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, who are a revolutionary group who want to change the world, are the only Muslim group who united below a Khalifa. Okay, even though all Muslims agree that they should have a Khalifa, because that's just the way things are, but they can't agree amongst themselves. Okay, so the Khalifa recently said, in answer to a question, so he answers questions as well. Somebody asked him, how could I improve my prayers, or something like that, or how can I concentrate better on my prayers? And he said, you need pain. Okay, so maybe some people might have misunderstood that. Like, it's not like you stab yourself in pain. It's like the people who feel pain and are close to God are the ones who feel pain on behalf of other people. When somebody else feels pain, they pray for them and feel a lot of pain for them. And to gain that nearness or that sense of pain, one of the things that help you is to fast. Okay, because when you're just busy with your life and running at 100 miles an hour as we do, working at 100 miles an hour as we do in the West, then you don't have time to reflect or feel any suffering. But when you fast, you automatically have a sense of suffering. You're slower, you have more time to reflect. And so fasting is an amazing way to start feeling for other people, to put yourself in a weaker, more fragile situation where you can feel that pain and sympathy of other people. And that's a very important part of Islam. Prophet Muhammad, for example, said, very briefly said, Muslims should be like one body. If somebody feels pain or one limb feels pain, the rest of the body feels feverish. So the whole community should feel pain when somebody else feels pain. That's kind of the nature of things. So the nature of Islam and its teachings. So that's a useful thing. Obviously you feel empathy with poorer people. And one last thing is that it's really healthy. So you can YouTube it, fasting health benefits. So I'll end with that. If you disagree with me, you got a comment, feel free to, disagree with me. Andreas the barber, really popular barber, around the corner, down the road. He does have a huge cross on his chest when he's, doing the haircuts. And he basically said, although he believes that, he follows Christianity, he believes all religion is man-made. So how do we know it's not man-made? So there are different approaches to this. First of all, does it make sense? First of all, be aware that God must exist, right? If God exists, it will be a bit weird. Okay, so let me explain it. If God exists, and then the Quran says, yeah, look at the world. Don't, I'm not, just asking you to blindly believe. Look at the world. Look at every single thing that has been made, the atoms that you are made of. Look at how they're perfectly designed, and your eyes will return tired, as it says in this beautiful kind of poetic way, and you'll realize, you'll exclaim that all of this was not created without purpose. The idea is that you were also not created without purpose. And if you're created not created without purpose, if you are created without purpose, God will certainly guide you. He's created all these things for your physical benefit. Why would he not create something for your spiritual benefit? So, and that would be religion, right? So that's one way of saying it. It makes sense that religion exists. But I think part of the reason for people believing religion is man-made is because all these religions are fighting each other, and they're all trying to, a lot of so-called religious leaders are trying to make money out of religion, right? So Islam is really different. It says all religions are true at their source. Okay, and if you do go to the Middle East, for example, you'll see that people where, a lot of the core religions, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity are all coming from, you'll see that people understand that. That's why they live in harmony. They actually have names like Christians have names that are like Muslim names, and they go, no, that's not a Muslim name, that's just an Arabic name. There's so much connection you can't believe. My best friends at university, my best friends were Jewish people, one boy and one girl, and I respected them because they followed their religion so well, and it was just the same as Islam in so many ways. Kosher is a bit like halal. Kosher is just like the more strict version. Jewish people with hats, and there's so many things, right? So that's one thing. Another thing very quickly would be if you look in the Quran, there's so many amazing prophecies. So I'll just very briefly go into it. Two things that come to mind. First of all, the Quran very in detail talks about the black hole. And it not only does it talk about the black hole, it talks about the universe being created and recreated. And it talks about how the black hole works. And it was only like until Einstein when Einstein, even in his lifetime, he wasn't sure if the universe was getting any bigger or not. He wasn't sure if it was just staying the same or not. And the Quran is really clear about it straight away, And so that's just one thing. The science in the Quran is amazing. And so how could a person who lived in the desert, who by the rest of the world, people used to look down on that part of the world as being the most savage, Prophet Muhammad couldn't even read or write, and that even then he said so many amazing things that are in the Quran. Another thing that I love, but maybe it's a bit in depth, is and because of this, there's an archaeologist who became a Muslim just because of this Quranic fact. So there was an archaeologist who was he found one of the pharaohs, and he looked into this pharaoh, and by his own kind of inspection or whatever, he realized this pharaoh had died of what's it called? Drowning, right? And so there's a verse in the Quran that says that this particular pharaoh that is referring to the one who chased Moses down the Sea of Reeds, not the Red Sea, by the way. Okay, in the Quran it says this pharaoh about when he was about to die, and it wasn't like the sea parted, like they show. It was just if I could demonstrate, this is my prop. If I throw lots of water in this, what happens is it rises and it comes back down. So it was a similar effect to that. It's not like there were two walls of water and Moses went through and then the Pharaoh went behind him and it collapsed on top of them. It wasn't quite like anything like that. Okay, so anyway, so in the Quran it says that to Pharaoh, so Pharaoh said to God just when he was about to die, I believe in the God of Moses. Okay, and then God says, what, now you believe when you're about to die? You only want to preserve your life, and because that's what you want to do, I will preserve your body. Okay, and so God has preserved his body, and he was taken out of the, what's it called, the river. Somebody obviously put him in a, the usual tomb. And because of this amazing prophecy, this particular archaeologist is so amazed that he just said, it was no way, people didn't even know that, that this particular Pharaoh drowned and all this kind of stuff. He just became a Muslim because of it. So there are lots of amazing prophecies in the Quran to look at. But having said all of that, what I want to say is, okay, Islam, okay, if it's man-made or not, let's put it to one side. It's of so much benefit, and I think actually Andreas agrees with this. Which is why he follows Christianity, even though he doesn't think it's real. There are so many benefits to religion. So, at the lowest level, okay, it's of use to you. But if you start looking into religion, you'll be amazed at how it serves humanity better to such a great level, and it serves all your needs and answers so many questions that with a bit of kind of investigation, like I'm kind of demonstrating with all these question answers, you'll find that could it really be possible that an unlettered person who couldn't read or write, produce such an amazing guide for life by himself? Not really, not realistically. Anyway, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. So many brilliant questions. Got 5 minutes. 30 seconds per question, maybe. Okay, here we go. Mario, the barber's son, that's Andreas' son. How do we get men's rights back? Sound like a strange question, but a very important question. Not too long ago, there was somebody who tried to run over lots of women because he was so upset about men not feeling their place in society. And that's because we've gone to sort of a very unnatural way of living our lives, and a lot of women really hate the way things are. So I work in a school. I have so many women say, I wish I could just marry a rich person so I wouldn't have to work in this school. Right? That's a very common thing. Is because women are really good at certain roles. It sounds sexist, but maybe I think a lot of people are realizing not sexist, it's just natural. Women are good at working in the home. They're good at the details. Men are rubbish at it. They don't purposely do it badly. And men are just a lot more kind of physical and muscular, working in a school and all this kind of stuff, rushing around, suits men a lot better. And men think in a very different way that works, for solving big problems sort of thing. All right, okay. It's not that women can't do it at all. Islam doesn't even teach that women don't have to work. Should not work. It just gives priorities. And because there are no priorities and no roles, because there are no priorities, people try to do everything and they do everything badly. That's one thing. And because there are no roles, clear defined roles, people are feeling lost. So, if you disagree, just comment in the video or even after the video, and I'll, whatever. I really feel like answering one particular question in the last 3 minutes because it's so beautiful, and I made a big effort to get some quotes for this, okay? And it's so basically I got this quote from The Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam. It's an amazing book, life-changing for so many people. I recommend you read it. I will put a quote very quickly. Let's see if I can get the link to it. Copy. page, and I'm going to quote something from it. The Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam, again, is by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the spiritual guide of the age, the second coming of Jesus, second coming of Buddha, who is the prophet who I follow, and whose role is to bring people back to God and get rid of the misunderstanding between God and human, or the malaise is the word, the bad feeling that had been created between humanity and God because of humanity's whatever faults or whatever. Okay, so there's a great question by, I thought it'd be funny, call him Anthony the Wise. Okay, so he's quite a thoughtful person. He says, is your purpose tied to a destiny that you have to find? Okay, this is a very popular idea, finding your purpose. Okay, so I'm going to quickly quote in a few seconds something. I feel like I'm kind of doing it all wrong, but I'm just going to go for it. The need for purpose is one of the defining... I've got a few seconds, right? So I'm just going to... You need a purpose. All psychologists tell you that. If you don't have a purpose, you'll be depressed. That's something you can read up yourself. Very important. Viktor Franklin's famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. Read that. But Promised Messiah, who wrote this Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam, says... the answer to this question is that different people, being short-sighted and lacking high resolve, appoint different purposes for their lives and limit themselves to worldly goals and ambitions. But the purpose that God Almighty has appointed for man in his holy word, that is the Quran, is as follows, that I have not created normal people and high people, important people, all sorts of people, except that they should worship God. And worship does not mean, as I've explained before, to simply bow. It basically means to lose yourself and to become at one with God, which is basically the meaning of Islam. Okay, right. Time is up. I think I'm going to take that question again next time because it's such a beautiful answer that I want to say that out in full. Quite enjoyed this one. I didn't find myself too bored. I wish people would ask more questions though, but I'm going to cut out now. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your time.